I feel like
Major League Baseball gets ready for the trade deadline. The WWE rushes to get ready for Summerslam, and we're ready to be back. Couch Potato Diary Live is on right now. Welcome everyone to Couch Potato Diary. It's been a minute since we've been live here, wherever you are tuning in today. Thank you so much for hanging out. As always, we are presented by Sea of Dead. Cutting off the hat a little bit, but you gotta see that. Even if you're not from Calgary, how do you not love that hat? Head over to seaofdead403.ca for that great Calgary swag. Also, we are powered by Swift Energy. Head over to swiftenergy.gg. Use the code PKPrimetime for that 25% off. Whether you're grinding on games, you're watching fights, we're getting ready for baseball's trade deadline, whatever it is, Swift Energy has some great flavors to help you get ready for whatever you need a bit of an energy boost for. And of course, wherever you are tuning in, make sure you hit that, whether it's the subscribe button, follow button, like, notify, whatever you can do to help us out. Every button that you can press, just click on it. Your mouse is right there anyway. That would be greatly appreciated. We got a lot to cover on this one today. I've been off doing radio things for the past couple of weeks, so we've missed a few things around these parts. Going to try to get caught up as we go along. Today, we are going to get ready for baseball's trade deadline, looking at who is under the most pressure in Major League Baseball. We're going to recap Week 8 in the Canadian Football League with our NFL preview starting this week. So a lot of football for those who appreciate that sort of a thing. Then we get into the world of face punching, as it is WWE SummerSlam weekend round these parts. So we're going to do a look ahead to SummerSlam plus a recap of what the WWE did with Monday Night Raw. And as always, we are going to be jumping back into some UFC talk. Missed a couple of the breakdowns from the UFC and boxing when we teed everything up, so want to kind of put a bow on that whole discussion there. And of course, whatever you want to talk about in the chat. We got Toxic, who is in the chat today. Love seeing Toxic back in the chat. Hello to you. And we will get into the Blue Jays talk here in just a second. But you're right. It hasn't been an overly inspiring last little bit for the Blue Jays. So if you guys want to talk more Blue Jays, more football, or any other subject that you have, put it in the chat and we can roll with it on this show. I certainly have a plan, but definitely don't have to stick to it. That is for sure. So let's dive in. And Toxic in the chat saying the weakness of the Blue Jays showing the last 3 games. Yeah, I think these last 3 games kind of showing that while the Blue Jays have been a fantastic story, there's a lot of work to do. It is trade deadline week in Major League Baseball, which means general managers are feeling the heat, but some are certainly feeling it more than others. We're going to talk about 5 teams that are feeling the most pressure ahead of this year's trade deadline, and the first one we're going to talk about is absolutely what Toxic is discussing in the Twitch chat, that the Blue Jays, while great, need some work. Major League Baseball's trade deadline is basically here, Thursday afternoon. Everyone will have to put their pens down and stop with the trading. And a few teams have some work to do between now and then. So today we're going to look at the 5 teams that are under the most pressure going into baseball's trade deadline. And we will begin with a team that Toxic mentioned in the Twitch chat, the Toronto Blue Jays. They haven't had this good of a chance to win the division in a really long time. And you do have to think that it's kind of set up for them now. So you have to take advantage. And while they have been a great story with so many different pieces stepping up in the way that they have, and so many different parts of this team really kind of reaching best case scenario in a number of different aspects, there are still some holes that need to be plugged. And I think you are seeing it. Like Toxic said, the weakness of this team showing up. The bullpen is a critical issue for this team. They have to come out of this deadline with, at the very least, one leverage arm that they trust. But there's probably a couple of other holes that they need to work on. I think you are also seeing that exactly 5 starting pitchers that you trust is not enough. We haven't had much of an update on Bowden Francis. Alek Manoah is working his way back, but that is not something that I would trust at this point. So there's I think the starting pitching market is certainly one that they need to look at. And you just have to think that at some point, you're not going to be able to rely on back-to-back home runs from Ernie Clement and Joey Loperfido to lead your team to the promised land. So I think that this is the time. Listening to the roundtable with the Athletic Baseball podcast, they were saying, and it feels maybe a little bit glib and a little bit haterish, but it also could be true. This could be the last time in Vlad Guerrero Jr.'s 13-year contract that the Blue Jays have a 5.5 game lead for first place in the American League East. So you have to take advantage of this situation. The Yankees feel down right now. Boston, they freed up a ton of money that it doesn't look like they're going to use this go around, but they will have in free agency for next season. You are getting a very good look at why the Baltimore Orioles should not be counted out if you're a Blue Jays fan, and the Tampa Bay Rays are just the Rays. They're just going to be this. But also, you look at it, like I know they just sent Tigers fans into a spiral, but that Tigers team is young and good. The Astros never really go away. At some point, the Mariners are going to figure it all out. Like, the entire AL is as easy as it will be for a while. So you have to pounce on this opportunity for Toronto. The next team that is under pressure, kind of perpetually, it's the New York Yankees. Their big lead in the American League East is gone, and now a deficit is building between them and the Toronto Blue Jays. And they also have some needs. They, I think, desperately need some help in the starting pitching department. They appear to have figured out their third base issue by going out and acquiring Ryan McMahon. Also going out and getting Rosario as just kind of a utility bat off of the bench was a really smart move for them, and one that, as someone who self-professed non-Yankee fan, I look at that one and I'm like, man, that's going to be really annoying in October. Like, that is one where you just know he's going to come up and get a big hit, and we're going to be looking like, oh yeah, so you just got him. Hey, great. Awesome. Love that for you guys. So they have done a pretty good job of filling some of the holes, but starting pitching is a need. They probably, I think if you were to give Brian Cashman truth serum, he would know that he probably needs to get another shortstop as well, but that's probably not going to be the case. But they've done pretty well in kind of solidifying that lineup a little bit more. And I don't know where the other parts are that you could with it. Like, unless you are just giving up on Dominguez and going out and getting another outfielder, then maybe. But they have they have an opportunity, like all those things we said. I know the Blue Jays are playing out of their minds right now, but the rest of the American League feels kind of set up for these guys to be able to make a run, even with no Garrett Cole. And I think they have to really make a commitment to try to make this team better. The next team, the Seattle Mariners. You are getting an MVP type season from Cal Raleigh. You have to take advantage of it. This team is hitting better than you would expect, even with Julio Rodriguez having, it was literally an all-star season, but not an all-star caliber season, if that makes sense. That pitching staff is always going to be dangerous and always going to keep you in things. And so again, when you look at the Astros, who kind of in this little transition area where they move on from Kyle Tucker, still a very good baseball team, obviously, but when you are getting a season like this from Kyle Rowley, you have to take advantage, I think, if you are the Mariners. And they do already with Josh Naylor. That's a good move. I think they probably need at least one more bat to help them out and really make a push for the American League West and push forward into the postseason. We go into the National League, and I would say the Chicago Cubs are under quite a bit of pressure. Kyle Tucker is a free agent at the end of the year. This feels like as close to a down year as the Dodgers have had in the regular season in a while. This is a time to really make a push. They are kind of getting a Toronto Blue Jays-esque season where you're looking kind of up and down the lineup. It's like, well, that guy's hitting well, that guy's hitting well, that guy's hitting well, that guy's hitting well. They're getting best case scenario out of a lot of dudes in that lineup. And look, odds are, I would suggest that they are one of the favorites to keep Kyle Tucker after the season is done, but it's not going to be as cheap as it was this year. So this is, again, the opportunity. While the National League does feel a little bit more competitive, there isn't that dominant team at the top anywhere in Major League Baseball. Like the top two teams in baseball going into today were the Blue Jays and the Brewers. That doesn't feel like the dominant team at the head of this thing. So this is an opportunity for the Cubs where they've kind of got a lot of things going their way to try to take advantage of it. The last team under pressure, and this is more from a seller's standpoint, is the Arizona Diamondbacks. There was a lot of discussion about whether they would kind of hang around in the buyer's market after a couple good series in a row. That didn't work out. They got kind of thumped in a couple back-to-back series after that. And now, obviously, they're in the seller's market. With Naylor going out, they have a chance to really decide how this deadline can go. Because, they have some fantastic rentals that are available. They get the scare with Suarez the other day, where he takes that pitch off the hand. So, obviously, you don't love that. Sounds like X-rays were negative on that one. But they have the best players available at the deadline. They have the best hitter in Eugenio Suarez. They probably have the best pitcher in Gallen if they are going to make that move. I get that this has not been a dominant year for him, but any other pitcher that is out there, you can probably say the same thing. They have the two best players that are available. This is a unique time for them because they have really been hitting the cover off the baseball the last couple of seasons. They got to the World Series. They got close. It hasn't really clicked since then, but I don't think that they view this as a massive teardown. So when you have this opportunity where, when you suck bad enough that you've given yourself an opportunity to sell, but you do have to take advantage of this, right? Look at what the Toronto Blue Jays did, where last year was a down year. So they sold off a bunch of assets, got a bunch of pieces back, and were able to use those to field a competitive baseball team that is now tops in Major League Baseball at the time of this recording, with bringing in guys like Lo Perfido, who's hitting home runs, Will Wagner, who is helping out. That they were able to add some pieces that were going to kind of keep this team afloat and kind of build out that Major League depth going into this season. The Diamondbacks, I think, will probably hope to lend more than organizational depth with the trading of Suarez and Gallen, but they are in a spot where they still have, I think, a pretty good core out in Arizona. Now you can add to it and just kind of rebound in a very difficult division, but they have a chance to really rebound and push forward. So I think that they're in a good spot, but because of that, I do think there is some pressure that comes with it. So that's the list of the teams that are under the most pressure in Major League Baseball going into this trade deadline. Of course, we're going to have more trade deadline coverage throughout the week. Going to look at the teams that should be buyers, the team that should be sellers, and reacting to all the trades that are happening across the sport right now. If you miss anything from Couch Potato Diary or just want to bring us with you wherever you may go, you can catch us on Spotify or on Apple or wherever you get your podcasts, as those are dropping essentially daily when the schedule allows it. But make sure you hit that subscribe button if you are listening, and leave a review. That stuff helps out as well. Let's move to the Canadian Football League, shall we? Calgary Stampeders. What the hell? Just when we all agreed that the Stamps were the best team in football, that happens as they fall to a shorthanded Montreal Alouettes club. Let's try to make some sense of all of that happened in Week 8 in the Canadian Football League. Week 8 in the CFL is now behind us, and I am more confused than ever as we continue to break things down here with the Canadian Football League. This is... Yeah, like, I work for 3 Down Nation, for those who don't know, and at the end of all the games, once the week wraps up, we get a chat. Hey, Power Rankings doc is ready. And so we go in there and we fill it out. And I went in... I had just finished watching F1 the movie. Fantastic, by the way. Would recommend. And opened it up, and I was just like, Can I just put everyone in a tie for 4th, and then Edmonton and Ottawa last, and we just go about it that way? Because I have no idea right now. I don't know who is... Like, I have a pretty good idea that a couple of teams are good. I am very confident that a couple of teams are bad, and then everyone else is just kind of... Meh. And even the teams that I'm pretty confident are good have shown me at least one example that they're not. So, I don't know. So anyway, that's the segment. No, we'll go a bit more in depth on this. I am frustrated with that Stamps performance. I have talked about that on the radio this week here in Calgary. We'll talk about it here in a second. But I do want to start on the Montreal side of this. Because the Alouettes remind everyone who they are in this football game. And it's funny, like with both Calgary and Montreal, at the second I start really, like, I'm buying what my eyes are telling me, they flip the switch in this game. Because with Calgary, it's like, okay, we have accepted this is the number 1 team in the country. They are the best team in the CFL, and off they go, riding into the sunset, back with the team that made a dynastic run before this recent dynastic run with Winnipeg, who apparently they also suck now. And so, okay, yes, Calgary, they made a lot of changes, didn't know how it would gel. Obviously, it's gelled. This is a good football team. Montreal, excellent roster. I thought when Davis Alexander went down, this roster is great. They can survive without with McLeod Bethel Thompson as their quarterback, and they will be able to stay afloat in the East Division and probably still host the East Final. And then they lose 2 in a row with McLeod Bethel Thompson. And so, on the one hand, I think Calgary, it's going to take some time to gel. And then they go on a great run. So I'm like, okay, this team's good. They have gelled. It's better than I thought, so I'm going to take them seriously. And then they lose. And with Montreal, I think the roster is too good to fail. And then they fail. So, okay, maybe this roster is just going to fail. And then they succeed. So I can't be right on any of these teams. But it was a reminder that this is still a very good football team in Montreal. They still, even with no Philpott and with no Davis Alexander, they still have a bunch of weapons on the offensive side that can beat you up a little bit. They are a fantastically coached football team, which I think this was a very good reminder of that on both sides of the ball. What they are able to do is really impressive, and they will beat you up at the line of scrimmage. Defensively, they will give you a lot of looks that it's going to be tough to kind of figure everything out. So this is a team that just covers all the bases, and maybe I'm not in love with the quarterback, but on some weeks, he's going to be enough, given how good this roster is. So again, a nice little, just a wake-up call for everyone else in baseball, or in football. I'm getting alerts on the Blue Jays game on my phone. A good reminder to everyone else in football that this team is for real. And now on the Calgary side, I'm interested to see how they respond. They admittedly don't appear to be facing the most amount of resistance this week when they take on the Ottawa Red Blacks, but they've been playing some fantastic football. They did kind of get popped in the mouth a little bit here. The concern from my end would be overreacting to one, I'm not even going to say bad performance. It wasn't that. Like they had a lead with a minute to go. A bunch of guys got hurt, and they forced Montreal to beat them with a 58-yard field goal. Let's not panic about this, though, right? So, like, that is the main thing. It's like one loss does not a season make. So don't go out and reconfigure a whole bunch of things just to overreact to one game against Montreal. Keep this in the back of your mind. Recognize that just being tougher isn't going to win you every football game, and Vernon Adams just being crazy isn't going to win you every game, and move on from there. But I am interested to see what Calgary does, and I am hoping that they are not a group that throws the baby out with the bathwater in this one, so to speak. Things are always changing with Couch Potato Diary, so make sure you follow me on social media. I am at Primetime Klein on Instagram, X, TikTok, Threads, Blue Sky, all of the places, so you can keep up to date with everything going on here in Couch Potato Diary land. Let's move to the team that I cover the closest with 3 Down Nation, the Saskatchewan Roughriders. If you want my full thoughts on this game, they are available in print form over on 3 Down Nation. I hated basically every aspect of this Riders game. Offensively, I should say, because we'll get to defense in a second. But this is one, it is exactly like the first part of the season against Ottawa, Toronto, and Hamilton, where they played with their food. They had this lead. Okay, got a lead. Cool. And I thought after a couple of those games against the Lions, they had kind of gotten out of this. Even that last BC game where, yes, BC does make it a 1-score game, but it was like a 1-score game with 30 seconds left. Who cares? This one's annoying. The fact that they get a touchdown with Keyshawn Johnson to go up 18-4 at the midway point of the third quarter. They don't get another first down until there's a minute 45 to go in the fourth quarter. And they let Edmonton crawl back in to a point where Edmonton had the ball with a chance to win with a minute to go. That cannot happen in this game. Like, you can't. The offense became very predictable. They started running into a wall, and every possession was, we run it on first down, we throw it short of the sticks on second down, and then we punt. And then we run it on first down, we throw it short of the sticks on second down, and then we punt. It was so frustrating to watch this offense play. There was no urgency at all. And this is not a defense that should be stymieing you. That was my biggest concern in all of this. And I said it in the recap. They play like that against any other team in the CFL, and they lose that game. It's just they got the good goddamn fortune of playing the Edmonton Elks, who are in a complete spiral right now, and they were able to come out the other side with at least a W. So good on them for that. On the upside, the defense was fantastic. That pass rush, it has been there all season long, but it hasn't been that disruptive all season long. So this was a good performance from all the guys up front. Baldonado, he is so hit or miss. He can either have a great performance or there's a couple penalties that he is taking. Micah Johnson is a beast up the middle on that defensive line. Carney has been good, and Shane Ray is getting better and better each week. Like, he is someone that I could see by the time the playoffs come around, like, wins them a playoff game. He is getting that much more effective on the defensive side of things. So they need to get that figured out. But they are figuring that out, but they need to not play like this. They have to play a lot better this weekend, going up against Montreal. And the one thing I will say, because I made the mistake of going to the Facebook comments when 3 Down posted it, and it's, why is this so negative? They did win. Almost only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades. It's like, I understand. Yes, a win is a win. You play 18 games. It is better to win than to lose. And if you win one of them, you take it and you move on. But that, I learned a long time ago that unless you're hoisting a trophy at the end of these games, it's okay to ask how instead of how many. So I still think that these are issues that Saskatchewan has that they need to figure out. Yes, it's cool. They won the football game. Great. Fantastic. I have working eyeballs. I don't know how you watch that game and come away from it being, big dub, got it, nothing to worry about. Because I understand people think the regular season in all sports now just doesn't mean anything and the only thing that matters is the playoffs. This is where good habits are formed. This is where you figure out what's working and what isn't. And it turns out not getting a first down for an entire freaking quarter doesn't work. So work on that one. Try to figure that out. But it is these types of habits, it's these types of performances that come back to bite you, and you end up losing a game you shouldn't late in the season. You end up in a spot where now you need that urgency because you're down by 10 against Calgary, and it's the West Final, and McMahon Stadium is actually full for once, and everyone's going insane, and now, okay, well, we kind of took our foot off the gas in some other points, so what do we do here? Obviously, it's not going to be that deer in the headlights, but this is where you figure these things out now, so you don't have to when it's minus 30 and loud in a place that you're not familiar with come playoff time. So that is why I get so frustrated, is, yes, they won. Great. They would have lost against anybody else. And I personally think that's a problem. Just saying. I just hated how that game looked. On the Edmonton side, Cody Fajardo, this term is overused in sports a lot. Cody Fajardo was as warrior as you can be in a football game. He was absolutely battling. I thought he played pretty well. He was running for his life on every play, but he was still making a few good throws. There was a couple deep passes. The one that Milligan almost intercepted, that Gittins just decided to let Milligan almost intercept. That was a pretty big underthrow from him. But aside from that, he was making a lot of the throws and playing pretty well. But he did all of that, and they still couldn't win against a team that was playing at basically 50% of what they could be. I think this one shows, and this is not to dump on Fajardo at all, but this game shows the trade forward wasn't the problem. This game shows that the offensive line is trash. And I don't want to take away anything that Saskatchewan did defensively, but the offensive line is not good. And Fajardo is running for his life, so yeah, no duh. Trey Ford is having some problems. Does Ford deserve some criticism? Absolutely. He deserves a bunch. And is he one of the problems in Edmonton right now? Absolutely, he is. Do I think you solve it by benching him? I do not. I feel like this is something he is going to have to work through to get there. And yes, they needed to protect him a little bit better. The receivers, Gittins will make a couple plays on some jump balls, but there's just not enough around for playmakers to help them out. And they don't have any run game to speak of because, again, the offensive line can't block for shit. Defensively, I mean, yes, they held Saskatchewan to 21. So good on you for that. But that felt more of what Saskatchewan wasn't doing than anything Edmonton was doing. So I think this one really solidified that Trey Ford is not the problem out in Edmonton. Still more CFL coverage to come with Couch Potato Diary this week. Tomorrow, we are going to be looking at power rankings before the full CFL preview comes out on Thursday. And if you want more CFL from me, head over to 3 Down Nation. I do the best bets every week. That'll be coming out probably tomorrow. And also Rider Thoughts after every Saskatchewan Roughriders football game. Time to move now to the world of professional wrestling. WWE's road to Summerslam is more of a drag race track than it is a highway. So, how did they handle that on Monday Night Raw this week? Let's talk about it as we get ready for SummerSlam. It is SummerSlam week, just 2 weeks after it was Saturday Night's Main Event week, and Great American Bash week, and Evolution week. So WWE's put a lot on the table right now, and they are hoping that the quantity, or that the quality, can kind of offset the absurd amount of quantity that we have had to deal with over the last little while. That being said, they put on a pretty good show on Monday. Let's talk about it. The big moment I thought of this show was CM Punk and Gunther giving us the go-home promo that we needed. Last week, it was awkward. It was a good start to the promo, and then it just stopped. And that's annoying. And it left a lot to be desired, I thought. Like, this one was an excellent build-up promo. It was a really good go-home promo. It really just made me wish that we had more of this. These two are way too good to only have a 2-week build to the biggest show of the summer. So, on one of your biggest shows of the year. I understand they overdid it with the length of that build to WrestleMania. There's a middle point, and 2 weeks ain't it. So this just showed me what we were missing by not having this be an extended build with Gunther and CM Punk. So excellent work by these two guys, but it just made you wish that we had had more of it to enjoy. And so hopefully we get, now a lot of people are presuming we're not, but hopefully we get a little bit more coming out of this one following up on SummerSlam. The other big story, Paul Heyman, Braun Breaker, and Bronson Reed, that team get the upper hand on Roman Reigns and Jey Uso on this episode. I thought to start the show, it was the Hulk Hogan tribute. I understand it. Like, if you're going to do it, you have to do it that way, right? Like, it does kind of feel from a WWE perspective, it was all or nothing. You can't really ignore it, but you either just like, hey, Hulk Hogan passed, rip, or you do what they did. And if you are going to treat this like a big deal, then you have to treat it like a big deal. And they did that. Did it give me an opportunity to fast forward through some stuff? It did. Yes, it absolutely did. But then, when we got to the actual wrestling part, I thought it was a great promo with Paul Heyman and Jey Uso to get things going, talking about family, and Paul Heyman really kind of setting up exactly how he should be talking about this. Like, you're really going to trust that guy again? You're like, just because it's family? What are we doing? Like, there's some like the part about how your parents will lie to you about Santa Claus and stuff like that. Like, that's a bit of a that felt weak from Paul Heyman. But you do see where they're coming from. Like, okay, family lies, what's it matter? You just got to look out for yourself. I don't think anyone is buying that we are going to get the 15th Roman and Jay turn on each other thing, but it was the exact promo that you would think that character would cut. And then when Jey Uso does his thing, oh boy, was that crowd ready for it. This crowd was excellent on Monday, and they were into main event Jey Uso here. So a good start to the night for this one. And then in the main event, it is Jey Uso against Bronson Reed. And this was really just a way to get into a post-match brawl kind of beatdown situation. And again, Braun Breaker looks like a superstar in this with the double spear through the barricade. The promos throughout the night were okay, but a couple big moments in this beatdown made him look like just an absolute monster. And then Bronson Reed with the tsunami of all tsunamis, laying out Roman Reigns. I don't think they are going to be successful this weekend, Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker. But I do think that they did a very good job of making these guys look strong. And there is at least a part of me now that is like, maybe they do just go with these two as the winners on whether it's Saturday or Sunday. I missed it. But maybe they do just go with these guys. So they put enough doubt in my head with this. And I think coming out of it, they are still going to be looked at in a very strong manner, even if they don't get their hands raised out in New York. AJ Styles and the Kabuki Warriors get a win over the Judgment Day. Again, the crowd was into this one as well. And it was a solid matchup that kind of accomplished a lot of things at once, which is what you're looking for from this. And I know a lot of people have been critical at times of WWE because it was a crutch for a long time. It's like, well, we have this singles program and this tag team program, 6-man tag going into this one. Or you would have a tag team program and, all right, week 1 is these two guys in the tag team wrestle, and then week 2 is these two guys in the tag team wrestle. And so people would kind of get a little bit tired of, all right, let's just throw a bunch of the stories into one match, and that's our thing. But I thought they utilized it pretty effectively on this show with a couple of the matches. And so there is a value in it. I like how New Japan kind of does the multi-man matches, especially right now during G1 season, where you just get a few of the stories into one match, everyone gets some spots in, everyone's happy and all of that. But even outside of G1, where you get a couple of the vets in early on, and they have matches with some of the kids, the young lions, whatever. Like, there is a way to use multi-man matches. And I think they had an effective example of it a couple of times. You look at just this match. You have a couple entertaining spots. Kairi Sane comes running in. AJ Styles flips her over the rope, and she goes flying into the Judgment Day down below. The way it's been going with Kairi, you were expecting, like, as she's coming up, it's going to, like, her boot is going to catch, and AJ's eyelid is just going to rip over to the back of his head, the way that her luck has been lately. But I still loved that spot. So you get some entertaining stuff there. You continue a good build for AJ Styles and Dominic Mysterio going towards SummerSlam. You keep the Kabuki Warriors looking very strong on television. And you set up a little bit more dissension in the Judgment Day. You keep the tag team titles out there, and it gives you an opportunity to promote that they are wrestling Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss coming up at SummerSlam. So I think it checked a lot of the boxes and was a really good use of multi-person matches that WWE has kind of leaned on in the past. If you like what we're doing here at Couch Potato Diary, we do have a tip jar. Wherever you are consuming this right now, it is either there as a panel or a link in a description. Wherever you are consuming this, there is a link to the tip jar. Greatly appreciated. It would, if nothing else, it helps out with our cat's insatiable treat desire. So anything you could give would be greatly appreciated. Certainly not required, but would be appreciated. Sheamus gets over on Grayson Waller. This, again, was mainly just a venue to help out with Sheamus and Rusev continuing their rivalry. You get at least some progression now of Grayson Waller in the New Day. Okay. This is something that has dragged on for far too long. And so if this happened right now, 3 months ago, this is fine. Like, when you started doing the backstage vignettes where you could start to see Grayson Waller in the background with the New Day, then okay. But now this, okay, do we want him? Do we not? Whatever. Like they have been building this just subtly in the background for a while. So why are we now starting with the slow burn, maybe these guys actually hate each other thing? I don't get it. It feels like a waste of the New Day, especially heading towards one of your biggest shows of the year, to really not have them involved in any meaningful way, and to not progress Grayson Waller, who does feel like an effective character. This just feels like a waste of a lot of people right now. The Lyra Valkyria promo, this one missed the mark against Becky Lynch. The content of the promo was okay, but she's got her Becky stompers on. This is a concerning part, and it's something that is very old WWE, and you haven't seen a lot in this new era, but it's creeping in, and I don't love it. She would, like, we have talked about her quite a bit on this show. I think that she is so close to actually getting over with the crowd, and the way she is going to do that is, like, try to get that personality across, but also, like, her biggest strength is how good of a wrestler she is. And so she's had a couple of matches to be able to showcase that now, with the triple threat match at Evolution, the 2 out of 3 falls match with Bayley, that I think did a lot for her and people getting behind her. But then this promo, it was so lame. It felt panicked. Honestly, it felt like she's probably going to win on at SummerSlam, and they are not happy with where the crowd reactions are, so now they're throwing shit out there. And so she's doing a dance with the Becky stompers before, and she's really calling out to the crowd for these things, and any call and response she does, it just doesn't work. There's a very strong character in there, and there's a very strong performer in there. And the way they were progressing was fine. This felt like a panic type of a promo and a panic type of a setup, and I didn't like it. It didn't hit the mark at all. Once you got the physicality where she was able to outsmart Becky and dive through and kick her on the floor, that was great. That's where she shines, is the in-ring stuff. But that was not the way to get her personality across at all. That made her look so cheesy and so lame, when I don't think she is. I think there's more to give with this character, and that wasn't the way to get it out of it. On the reverse of that, Sami Zayn and Karrion Kross, a fantastic back and forth in a pre-tape backstage. I thought this was really good to, again, progress this, get Karrion Kross to I just want you to say this one thing, and then I'll leave you alone. It's fine. And there is a little bit of, like, the Joker and Batman here, where it's like, everyone can be corrupted except for you. That one's unnecessary. But I feel like we need to have kind of a big moment coming out of this, and I don't think we're going to get it. So, okay. But the one thing I do think was smart about this was to have this one taped and to air it with no crowd noise. Because the big part of this is Karrion Kross is still a bad guy and Sami Zayn is still the ultimate good guy. And that gets hurt a little bit when the crowd starts chanting one more time for Karrion Kross when he's beating the bejesus out of Sami Zayn. So I think this was a smart move to kind of mute the crowd reactions, get this one over, and both guys participated very well in their side of it. So I'm excited to see where this one goes. I just hope where it goes ends up in a satisfying conclusion. The 8-woman tag really put on a show, and again, it checks a few of the boxes, and I feel like basically everyone in this comes out elevated. Rhea and Io, it just shows how over they are, and you get them on television, and they're awesome. But they have the backstage segment as well. That was really good. It made Piper Niven look like a beast, where she does the, like, stand-up reveal horror movie moment behind Nikki and Io after they do the emote thing. And so she looks like a beast, which, again, like, I don't know what it is that doesn't click with her, whether it's with the creative or with the crowd, but she's a really good performer. And so she is always someone who I wish there was a little bit more there for, and treating her in this way and treating her as the muscle of this match was a very strong way to go about that. You get Nikki getting a good reaction with that EO emote, getting her on TV, and continuing the progression of her story with Chelsea Green right now. Stephanie Vaquer looks strong to get a win. Naomi continues to feel legitimate as a champion, and I thought the promo backstage with her was fantastic. So basically, I mean, like, Alba Fire, certainly existed in this match. And aside from that, like, everyone in this match felt like they kind of got elevated from this night, and I can't wait to see what happens at SummerSlam for this one. Lastly here, we got Judgment Day retaining the tag team titles over the LWO. This was, again, more of a moment for El Grande Americano to run in, but this match was a ton of fun. And the LWO, they have really showed out in their opportunities recently, right? Like, you go back to Worlds Collide and the performance of Cruz del Toro, who I thought was one of the winners of the night with how well he performed, and then how good they looked in that tag team qualifying match. And now in this one again, I thought these guys both looked very, very good and deserving of this spotlight. And so I'm hoping that the Grande Americano kind of detour doesn't lead us too far away off of television here, because these guys are very, very good. Overall, again, this was a good episode of Raw. It really did advance things well and effectively for SummerSlam. It just feels so rushed that nothing feels like massive going into your biggest show of the year. Like, if you could do this and then 2 more after it, we're talking about an excellent build for SummerSlam. The problem is they had 2 weeks to build this thing up. Hey, if you're loving the wrestling talk from Couch Potato Diary, we have a new wrestling podcast. It is called Living Room Lariat. It is all the wrestling content here from Couch Potato Diary, but if you don't want to hang out for some CFL talk or some UFC after, all the wrestling talk just combined into one spot for you, and some bonus stuff that you won't hear on the regular Couch Potato Diary podcast. So, some exclusive wrestling content over on Living Room Lariat, wherever you get your podcasts. The WWE is basically suffering from the consequences of their own actions as they build up to SummerSlam. Their desire and obsession to counter-program AEW has now led to a rushed build of what should be one of their biggest shows of the year. So were they able to at least salvage something from this? Let's talk about it as we look ahead to SummerSlam this weekend. It is SummerSlam week, which might seem a little bit sudden because wasn't it just Saturday night's main event like half an hour ago? And with that, they had Evolution too. How are we at to SummerSlam now? And you would be correct in assuming that. This has not felt like the build-up to one of the biggest shows of the year. I love SummerSlam. And so to have it feel so rushed is very frustrating. To have 2 weeks to set all this stuff up is it's lame. And I get, like, there are different storylines that have been going long-term that you can kind of put into this, right? Like, there is an extension of Randy and Drew McIntyre in this tag team match. Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu have been going for a little bit. But this should have been the crescendo that we were building to, instead of the, oh, holy shit, let's just throw everything into this and go with it there. And so that's... It's just, and it's their own doing. It's not like there was something else that popped up that now, oh man, now we have to get into this. It is their obsession with counter-programming AEW that has put them into this spot right now where everything just feels rushed. Even the stuff that isn't, with Jacob Fatu and Solo, it feels rushed and it feels thrown out there. And it still feels like a big card. And they've done the kind of WWE 2K thing where you throw a bunch of stipulation matches on to try to kind of pop a rating, this in a different way now, but you throw a bunch of these on there, and it really does feel, to me anyway, like all the stipulation matches are there to make up for the fact that the build was lacking in most of these spots, because you only had a couple of weeks. And again, it's the problem with the whole All-In weekend. The fact that we only get a 2-week build for CM Punk against Gunther and the promo battles they could have had. It feels like we missed something. And maybe there'll be more after it, but we shouldn't be saying that about SummerSlam. And so I don't love it. You have to rush through something. This feels like it's one of the biggest, SummerSlam has always been one of the biggest shows of the year. This doesn't feel like it. It feels like you're like coming off of something, okay, well, shit, Backlash is in a couple of weeks, so we have to do that. I just feel like a lot of this has really been poorly put together. That being said, the show this weekend's probably going to slap. Like, you have a couple very big nights planned. I think they've loaded it up very, very well. So I'm excited for the matches. But again, that's not what this company is. obviously they're a wrestling promotion, but they're the ones who will always say, look, focus on the stories, enjoy the ride that The Rock is taking you on. We're about storylines and taking people on this ride. Well, this ride is just one of the ones, it's not the roller coaster that you're enjoying for a while. It's the one that sends you straight up in the air and then straight down afterwards. Like that's the ride we've been taking on. It's the, hey, you do. Okay, well, that ride was done. And that's not what SummerSlam is supposed to be. And again, like I said, like I have always really enjoyed SummerSlam. It's at a time of the year, I know a lot of people are out, but it was a time of year where I was able to watch a lot of wrestling. And just weirdly, when one of the video stores or the video store, I guess, in my hometown, when they were kind of clearing out a lot of their VHS, for whatever reason, people ransacked WrestleMania, obviously, but all the SummerSlams were there. And so that was, to me, that was one of my intros into a lot of the older stuff in wrestling, and like SummerSlam 92, a VHS tape that I've worn out since then, and all the SummerSlams kind of building up to it. This is kind of your like midway point of the season WrestleMania, and this hasn't felt like it at all. So I know I hold this show in high regard, but they should too, and it doesn't seem like they have. So hopefully there are some learning lessons coming out of this for the WWE. As always, we are streaming this on a few different places, and so if you're watching live, thank you very much. If you aren't, you can get these shows early by streaming it live, whether it is YouTube, Twitch, or Kick. Our next Twitch stream is going to be tomorrow at 10 a.m. is the plan, to do another podcast, and then hoping for another video game stream tomorrow afternoonish sometime. But tomorrow at 10 a.m. Mountain Time is going to be the next stream here. This next part, there's a couple of things here that are going to be maybe a touch dated, but I was off doing radio for a couple of weeks, haven't had a chance to fully sink my teeth into a couple of these things here, so I kind of need to talk about what happened at UFC 318 and Usyk versus Dubois. We previewed the hell out of them a couple of weeks ago, and then when the big shows happened, I was then on the radio. So I want to talk about these. So if you will indulge me for just a moment, can we talk about what happened at UFC 318? UFC 318 was a fitting tribute to a legend in mixed martial arts as Dustin Poirier fought for the final 25 minutes of his career in a classic against Max Holloway. I thought that this was a really fun fight back at UFC 318. I enjoyed every bit of it. And I thought it was a fantastic end to Dustin Poirier's career. It wasn't a fight where you're like, oh, all right, this is the last time. We get it. Let's just enjoy having him out there. He was still sharp. He was still competitive. And he goes out with another classic against another one of the greatest to do it. And someone who he has a tie with in Max Holloway. So a credit to Dustin Poirier for being able to go out there, still look that good, still be competitive, go out with another classic, and from a pro wrestling sense, put over the guy on the way out, which I know that's not what he wanted to do, but it is kind of the MMA way, where you don't always get to win your retirement fight. Dustin Poirier did not get to do that on Saturday back at UFC 318 in New Orleans, but still, I thought the UFC treated it with appropriate reverence. I've talked before about how I don't think this promotion celebrates its past effectively at all. A big reason for that is a lot of the guys just have a bad reputation with Dana now. But this was an excellent job of recognizing this guy has been very important to us. He is the type of rags to riches story that combat sports was built on. And he was a big part of the momentum that we have been able to build here. So I think it was a great way to send off one of the great fighters in the history of combat sports. Just a reminder that this episode is powered by Swift Energy. Head over to swiftenergy.gg. Use that code PKPrimetime at checkout to get 25% off your next order. If we're grinding games, if it's the next fight night that you got to watch, we got 8 hours to stay sharp on. We got to keep that mental focus going. Head over to swiftenergy.gg and use the code PKPrimetime for that 25% off. So what about the guy who's actually sticking around after UFC 318? Max Holloway, I thought he had some fantastic moments. I did think that he got hittable as we went into the final couple of rounds. Like, everything was going really well for him. His boxing was so on point. He was so sharp with that jab. His movement, his hand speed is elite, and it is just overwhelming. He did a great job of beating Dustin Poirier to the punch, figuratively and literally, as that fight went on. But then Poirier lands the shot that drops him. He jumps for the ghillie and doesn't get it. But after that, Max felt hittable. That felt like it really kind of powered down Max Holloway. And he was still good. Like, he was still deserving of the win. But I thought if Poirier would have been able to turn it on a little bit more there, I thought Max was gettable in a couple of those rounds that Poirier wasn't able to get. And so that was one where Holloway gets hit and he comes away with the win, but that part needs to, I think, kind of tighten up if you're Max Holloway going forward. But still, excellent edge in the striking department. He ends up with 113 to 99 in the significant head strikes. He had 23 to 9 with leg kicks. He landing that, like, they weren't the blistering ones, but he was sticking them out there, and you need to do that. But I thought a big part of this early was the investment in the body shots. He outstruck Dustin Poirier 46 to 5 to the body. And it is those ones, again, when he's looking to get off first, unless you're going to get into a wild firefight with him, you kind of have to, like, defend them and then try to set up your offense that way. And it wasn't always just like it was a lot of punches to the head, but it wasn't like it was a good jab. But then when you're coming into those shots to the body, like, that is still setting your opponent off a little bit and allowing you to get in a little bit closer, get your combinations going, and really show that speed and continue to overwhelm your opponent. And so I thought he utilized those very effectively. I don't think it slowed down Dustin Poirier at all. I think there are some cars that couldn't do that. But I do think that it was a good way to just keep, I guess, kind of filling the space almost. They were more impactful than that, but to keep kind of just like adding points, accumulating damage, putting that work in, making that investment, and still being able to just be part of the bigger overall overwhelming picture for Max Holloway. And then I did like the leg kicks early. Again, it was just a part of that big volume edge that he had over Dustin Poirier. So an excellent game plan, excellent execution. Should Max Holloway be next for the championship? I don't think so. I don't think that this... I don't think you watch this and go, well, now I've completely forgotten about what Ilya Topuria did to this human being. Absolutely not. So I think that there is still another fight to go for a Max Holloway. A shot with Charles DeBronx, go for it. If Arman Tsarukyan doesn't get the next title opportunity, go with that one. If Paddy Pimblett doesn't, then go with him. Like, there are some options, but I think Holloway is still a fight away. And he might even be a fight away from being a fight away still. But you know he is going to bring it. You know he is going to bring a ton of the action going forward. So very, very, very impressive performance for Max Holloway on this night. One more fight to talk about. Alexander Usyk, once again, establishing that he is one of the best, not only in the heavyweight division, not only of his generation, but we're getting into one of the more skilled boxers in the history of this sport. Let's talk about what we saw from Alexander Usyk against Dubois out at Wembley. Alexander Usyk is at or near the top of every pound-for-pound ranking, and he showed why, even though those were kind of made basically to say, like, okay, if everyone was the same size, who would win? And that tends to take away from the heavyweights. You're not taking away from this guy. Alexander Usyk with a complete performance, knocking out Dubois out at Wembley. This was brilliance, right from the word go with Usyk. His counterpunching and ability to land on the back foot was spectacular. Dubois, we talked about it coming in. You have to be perfect against this guy for 36 minutes if you are going to be successful in beating him and once again becoming the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. And he was perfect. As Dubois is coming forward, it's quick counterpunching, and it's counterpunching while you're going back, and that's really difficult to do. Like, if you're driving right now, don't, but at a spare moment, just see how hard you can punch while you're backing up. It's not a lot, but he was still able to do that very effectively as Dubois is landing. So he is having to take some very big shots and still be able to fire back while on the back foot. To be able to do that impactfully was very impressive from him. And again, you would see his footwork and the brilliance that he could put on. Like, I know we are using a lot of very hyperbolic statements. There is no hyperbole in this. What we saw at Wembley Stadium was nothing short of brilliance from Alexander Usyk. And you see it at the end with the knockout shot that he lands. Yes, we're talking about someone who's maybe not all the way there in Dubois at this point, but he is still throwing. He is still bringing it, and still like relatively effectively. But he comes in, and it is just like, it's one thing I've said when I've been able to do boxing commentary and other things like that. You don't get points if the other person misses by a lot. You actually get more effective if they only just miss by a little bit, because then you are right there to take advantage. And that's what it was. It was excellent footwork to stay out of the way of Dubois while he comes in with a big shot, and then to be right there to be able to land that left from hell and send Dubois to the canvas for the final time. So again, just technical brilliance from Alexander Usyk. Don't forget, wherever you are tuning in here on Couch Potato Diary, whether it's a follow button, a subscribe button, or anything else that lets you keep it locked with everything we are doing here at Couch Potato, hit that button. It really does help out a lot. If you are watching on YouTube later on, hit that subscribe button or hit the notification bell so you know when the next stuff is coming from Couch Potato Diary. So overall, a fantastic performance from Alexander Usyk. Dubois has power, and he lands early, and then Usyk is able to counter him, push forward, and get the stop. And so this is the next level of it, right? Because, like, to be able to outbox Tyson Fury for 72 rounds or not 72 rounds, Jesus, for 24 rounds is really impressive at the heavyweight division, because no one has really been able to do that. And to beat Joshua the way he has, very impressive. And then to take it to Dubois, to be able to come forward, to be the guy being like, you know what? Like, you're very good. Second best heavyweight in the world right now, no doubt. I'm going to walk you down. I'm going to whoop that ass. That was so impressive. And it was that kind of killer instinct that shows, like, okay, he passes the test of the KO power of this guy. He's not just on his back foot waiting to counter. He is pushing forward, dictating the pace. He is outboxing boxers. He is outpowering power punchers. We are genuinely talking about one of the best boxers this sport has seen, certainly at the heavyweight division. Now, we're not going to go, like, it is obviously heavyweight boxing has had a lot of big moments and a lot of big fighters. And this is a good era for heavyweight boxing. It's not Muhammad Ali, Sonny Liston, George Foreman, all those guys, right? But this isn't Klitschko and dude on the couch. This is a real legitimate era of heavyweight boxing, and he is moving up from cruiserweight and dominating all of it. So, like, is he a Mount Rushmore heavyweight? Probably not. But he does need to be talked about as one of the most talented fighters we have ever seen in the sport of boxing, regardless of weight class. And maybe we should have or maybe I should have bought on to that a little bit earlier than I did. Obviously, like, I have talked about him and how incredible I think his talent is for a very long time now, but I haven't talked about it in this kind of generational way yet. And that is what is left to talk about with him because of how good he is. And then to be able to walk this guy down and finish it off, it is just so impressive. The problem is now, doesn't leave you with a whole lot else to kind of sell. This was kind of the last big one to do in the heavyweight division. So we will see now what the next big fight is for Alexander Usyk, but you can bet your bottom dollar that I will certainly be there watching. That's going to do it for Couch Potato Diary today. As always, we are presented by Sea of Dead. Check out seaofdead403.ca. Get this Cannons hat. We got some Stampede Wrestling shirts as well, and some new stuff coming soon. So keep it locked over at seaofdead403.ca. Fuel your next gaming night. Head over to swiftenergy.gg. Some awesome flavors. It'll keep you awake if you're really trying to grind out a level, win the Stanley Cup, whatever you're trying to do, gaming-wise, or if we're staying up for trade rumors. We are putting in some work for 2 days watching Summerslam. Whatever you need that little bit of extra energy and focus for, swiftenergy.gg. Use the code PKPrimetime for 25% off. If you're listening, make sure you hit subscribe or follow. Leave a review. It really does help out. If you are watching this, make sure you hit subscribe or follow. Like the video, share it with people that you know, and a couple people that you don't, just to surprise them a little bit. Follow me on social media. I am at Primetime Klein everywhere. Again, the next live stream is going to be Wednesday at 10 a.m. Mountain Time. So I'll see you guys then. Have a great rest of your day, everybody.